You've been lied to. They told you George Washington was a humble farmer who just wanted to serve his country, that he couldn't tell a lie, that he wore wooden teeth and walked away from power out of the goodness of his heart. But the truth? Washington was a land-hungry speculator, a dedicated Freemason, and part of a wealthy elite that bent the law and profited while others bled. He helped found America, yeah, but he did it with one hand on the Bible and the other in the vault. This is the history they didn't teach you in school. I'm Rocky Smith, and this is Rock Solid TV. Let's start with the secret society. In 1752, at just 20 years old, George Washington was initiated into the Freemasons, a shadowy, elite fraternity that included military officers, politicians, and businessmen from across the British Empire. This wasn't a group that sat around playing cards. The Freemasons were the original global network where power and influence flowed behind closed doors, where handshakes, oaths, and ritual bound men together tighter than any political party. Washington didn't just join, he stayed in, rose through the ranks, and get this. In 1793, as president, he personally laid the cornerstone of the US Capitol, wearing full Masonic regalia. That's not conspiracy, that's documented history. So ask yourself, why doesn't that show up in your school books? Before the Revolution, Washington wasn't just some innocent farmer. He was a businessman, a hustler, and yeah, he smuggled. He made serious coin importing goods from Europe, especially with help from his powerful British contacts. But when the Crown cracked down with trade laws like the Navigation Acts, Washington didn't play by the rules. He worked around them, quietly broke the law, smuggled goods through Dutch and French intermediaries to keep his profits rolling in. And he wasn't alone. Most of the founding fathers, Jefferson, Hancock, Adams, us, they were all doing it, protecting their own financial interests under the banner of liberty. While the British Crown tried to limit expansion beyond the Appalachian Mountains, Washington and his crew were secretly grabbing up hundreds of thousands of acres in the Ohio Valley. He invested in land speculations that directly conflicted with British orders. He even used fake names on land claims to get around the rules. And while he was leading troops into the wilderness during the French and Indian War, he wasn't just fighting for the flag. He was fighting for control of the land that would later make him rich. By the time he became president, Washington had amassed over 60,000 acres of land, much of it seized from Native American nations. He didn't just dream of a country, he owned it. Let's not sugarcoat this. Washington owned slaves, a lot of them. He didn't inherit a few. He built a plantation empire on forced labor. At Mount Vernon, over 300 enslaved people worked his land, built his wealth, and served his every need. And when Pennsylvania passed a law saying enslaved people had to be freed after 6 months on state soil, Washington dodged it. He secretly rotated his slaves in and out of D.C. every few months, just to keep them legally enslaved. He even pursued runaways with full-blown surveillance and bounty hunters. Yes, in his will, he said some slaves should be freed, but only after his wife died. And the vast majority weren't freed at all. You don't get to lead a revolution for liberty while denying it to hundreds of people under your roof. So, how did this power-hungry land baron turn into a national saint? Simple. They rewrote him. The story about Washington and the cherry tree? Completely fake, cooked up by a biographer named Parson Weems after Washington died. The idea that he gave up power willingly? Half true, but it also cemented his image as the noble, selfless leader. He didn't walk away from power, he shaped it. Washington crushed uprisings like the Whiskey Rebellion to protect the federal government's tax authority. He set the precedent for a strong executive, not a hands-off republic. He warned against political parties, but backed the Federalists. He spoke of unity, but sided with elites. He was brilliant, no doubt, but he was also calculating, and he knew how to shape a legacy. George Washington wasn't just America's first president. He was a military operator, a master of land deals, a Freemason, and yes, a man who profited from human bondage. He played the game better than anyone, and he helped write the rules. Was he a visionary? Absolutely. Was he a patriot? Sure. But he was also a man of his time and a product of power. This is the history they didn't teach you in school. But here on Rock Solid TV, we don't do fairy tales, we dig for the truth. Because only when you know what really happened can you understand where we're headed. I'm Rocky Smith. If you're ready for more untold history, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who still thinks George Washington had wooden teeth. See you next time.